Hi boys and girls, this is your math e-learning lesson for Friday, May 8th. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 131, which is adding and subtracting of mixed numbers. Let's take a look at the board. So you know mixed numbers. Mixed numbers are made up of a whole number and a fraction. When we are adding and subtracting mixed numbers, right now we are looking at mixed numbers. If you see here, our mixed numbers all have the same denominators. Okay, so we are talking about adding and subtracting of mixed numbers that have like denominators. And you know that when you add or subtract fractions with like denominators, the denominator stays the same and you only need to add or subtract the numerators. So that still holds true for this. In addition though to that, you are now also adding some whole numbers because these are mixed numbers made up of whole numbers and fractions. So let's take a look. The first one we have is 2 3/5 plus 3 1/5. So you start out by looking at your whole numbers and you're always going to either add or subtract those whole numbers first. So we have 2 plus 3 equals 5. And then we look at the fractions. 3/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. Okay, so 2 3/5 plus 3 1/5 equals 5 4/5. You added your whole numbers, 2 plus 3 equals 5, and then you just had your fractions with like denominators, 3/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. Here we have 3 plus 1 1/3. Add those whole numbers first. 3 plus 1 equals 4, and then you add your fractions. No fraction here, plus 1/3 here. 0 plus 1/3 is 1/3. Okay, here you're going to subtract. Again, you start with your whole numbers. 5 minus 1 equals 4. And now you have 2/3 minus 2/3 equals 0. We don't need to write 0/3. 0/3 is the same as 0. We're not going to put a 0 here. Okay, it's 5 minus 1 equals 4. 2/3 minus 2/3 is 0. We don't put anything here for the fraction. So that 5 2/3 minus 1 2/3 equals 4. Now we're adding. Again, whole numbers, 2 plus 4 equals 6. And then our fractions, 1/4 plus 2/4 equals 3/4. Okay, so 2 1/4 plus 4 2/4 equals 6 3/4. Another example, 3 1/3 minus 2 1/3. Our whole numbers, 3 minus 2, which equals 1. And now we have 1/3 minus 1/3. Again, that equals 0. We don't need to write 0/3. We don't need to write 0. It's just 1. So that 3 1/3 minus 2 1/3 equals 1. Now we have 6 1/2 minus 3. So we start with our whole numbers. 6 minus 3 equals 3. And then 1/2 minus nothing is still 1/2. So 6 1/2 minus 3 equals 3 1/2. 2 3/4 minus 2 2/4, our whole numbers. 2 minus 2 is 0. We don't need to put that 0 here in front. Okay, so we don't do anything there. And then we have 3/4 minus 2/4 equals 1/4. So we don't put a 0 here because we don't say I have 0 and 1/4 pieces of cake. It's 1/4 of a piece of cake. Okay, so it's 2 minus 2 equals 0. We don't need to write that, but then 3/4 minus 2/4 equals 1/4. And here we have 8 plus 1 2/5. 8 plus 1 equals 9. And then we don't have a fraction here, so nothing plus 2/5 equals 2/5. Okay, so now here we did adding and subtracting mixed numbers. They were all written horizontally, which it's easy enough to do. But I just want to show you if we were to write them also vertically. Just to give you a few examples, we could write these problems vertically as well. So here we have, how about 9 3/4? And these problems were all taken from the examples and the practice. Okay, and then let's do this one. 12 8/9 minus 3 3/9. Okay. So here we have 9 3/4 minus 4 2/4. It's done the same way. One slight difference, when we set it up this way, vertically, we're starting on the right side, which is actually looking at the fractions first. Where here, what we did is we worked with the whole numbers first. Here, we're going to work with those fractions first. So now we have 3/4 minus 2/4 is 1/4. And then here, 9 minus 4 equals 5. So 9 3/4 minus 4 2/4 equals 5 1/4. So we started here with the fractions first and then went to the whole numbers. If it was written horizontally, we would have looked at the whole numbers first and we would have said 9 minus 4 equals 5 and 3/4 minus 2/4 equals 1/4. Okay, same answer, but again, just when it's written vertically, we start with the fractions and then go to the whole numbers, and when it's written horizontally, we do whole numbers first and then fractions. All right, and then let's just do this last one. 12 8/9 minus 3 3/9. Okay, 8/9 minus 3/9. Again, when your denominators are the same, it stays the same and you only work with your numerators. 8 minus 3 equals 5. 8/9 minus 3/9 equals 5/9. And then 12 minus 3 equals 9. So 9 5/9. And that one, if it was written horizontally, 12 8/9 minus 3 3/9. Then you would subtract. 12 minus 3 equals 9, and 8/9 minus 3/9 equals 5/9. Okay. Again, same answer. You're going to get the same answer. It's just that when it's written vertically, you're going to look at the fraction part first and then the whole number. And when it is written horizontally, we do the whole number first and then the fraction. Okay, so lesson 131. You don't need to do anything else with the practice. We've gone through the practice together. You just need to work on numbers 1 to 30. Numbers 1 to 30, lesson 131. If you have any trouble with it, if you need some help, please make sure that you call me or reach out to me so that I can help you through this. Okay? And then don't forget, spend some extra time on IXL or extra math, whichever it is you're working on. Okay? So please ask for help if you need it. Okay? And I will talk to you later. Bye.